Dr. Elena Vasquez stared at the data screen in her small laboratory aboard Nexus Prime. The massive space station floated in the neutral zone between three star systems, serving as the main research hub for the Galactic Council. Elena had been working here for 5 years, studying alien biology and trying to understand how different species evolved across the galaxy. She rubbed her tired eyes and took another sip of her coffee. The artificial gravity made everything feel normal, but she still missed Earth sometimes. 50 years had passed since humanity first made contact with the Galactic Council. Her grandfather used to tell stories about that day when the alien ships appeared over major cities around the world. The Council had been welcoming, Elena remembered from her history classes. They explained that humans were young and needed time to learn about galactic society. The Council would help humanity grow and develop until they were ready for full membership. It sounded reasonable back then. Elena pulled up another file on her computer. She was researching how different species joined the Council, trying to understand the process better. Something felt wrong, but she could not put her finger on it. The Zilithians joined the Council 200 years ago. According to the records, they were granted full membership immediately after first contact. The same happened with the Korthan Empire and the Vegan Republic. Elena frowned. Why were these species given instant membership while humans had to wait? She dug deeper into the archives. The Aquatic Confederation from the Kepler system also received immediate membership. So did the silicon-based Christarch Collective. Every species she could find had been welcomed as full members right away. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She opened the human contact files again, reading more carefully this time. The language was different. Words like evaluation period and developmental assessment appeared frequently. Other species files talked about welcoming ceremonies and immediate integration protocols. Her door chimed. Dr. Kethvar, her Zilithian research partner, entered the lab. His tall, thin frame and 4 arms made him look graceful as he moved. His skin had a slight blue tint and his large eyes showed concern. Elena, you look troubled, Kethvar said in his careful English. Is your research not going well? Elena hesitated. Kethvar had become a good friend over the years, but she wondered if she should share her concerns. I am studying how species join the Council, she said finally. There seem to be differences in how it happened. Kethvar's expression changed slightly. What kind of differences? Every species except humans was given full membership immediately. We have been junior members for 50 years. Why? Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. His 4 hands fidgeted with a data pad. Perhaps the Council wanted to be more careful with humans. Your species is unique. Unique how? I should not say more. Please, Elena, be careful with your research. After Kethvar left, Elena felt more confused than ever. She decided to contact other humans working on Council stations. Maybe they had noticed something too. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Commander Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the human patrol ship Defiance. His small fleet of 6 ships was escorting a mining convoy through the Outer Rim territories. It was boring work, but the Council said it was important for human development. Marcus looked at his tactical display with frustration. The ships his crew operated were old and slow, compared to what other species used. When they passed a Korthan patrol last week, their advanced vessels made the human ships look like antiques. Commander, his tactical officer called out. We are receiving a distress signal from the mining station on Kepler 7. Put it through, Marcus ordered. The holographic display showed a panicked human mine supervisor. Commander Chen, we have raiders attacking the station. They have advanced weapons and shields. Our defenses cannot hold them. Marcus gritted his teeth. This was the 3rd raid this month. The raiders always had better technology than the human defenders. All ships set course for Kepler 7. Maximum speed. As they traveled through hyperspace, Marcus thought about the pattern of attacks. The raiders always seemed to know exactly where human operations were located. They never attacked other species' facilities in the same sectors. It was as if someone was feeding them information. The Defiance dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 7. Marcus could see the mining station under attack by 5 unknown ships. Their design was unfamiliar, but their weapons were definitely Council technology. All ships, attack formation, Marcus commanded. Target their engines first. The battle was fierce but short. The human crews fought with skill and determination, using tactics that surprised the raiders. When the unknown ships realized they could not win easily, they retreated into hyperspace. Marcus ordered his ships to dock with the mining station. The damage was significant, but no one had died. The station supervisor met him at the airlock. "Thank you, Commander. I thought we were finished this time." Marcus examined the weapon damage on the station walls. The burn patterns were definitely from Council energy weapons. "Did you get a good look at the attackers?" "No, sir." Their ships had no identifying marks, but their technology was far beyond anything we have. Back on Nexus Prime, Elena had made contact with 12 other humans working on different Council stations. They agreed to meet in a secure communication channel that evening. When the meeting began, Elena was surprised by what the others shared. Dr. James Morrison from the Council's medical research facility reported that human volunteers consistently outperformed other species in physical and mental tests. But the results were classified. Engineer Sarah Kim from the shipbuilding yard said that human design suggestions were often rejected for safety reasons, even when they would clearly improve performance. Military liaison Captain Torres revealed that human tactical recommendations were studied extensively by Council strategists but never implemented. "It is like they want to keep us limited," Sarah said. "Every time we try to contribute something meaningful, we are told it needs more study or is not ready yet." Elena decided to share her discovery about membership protocols. The group fell silent as she explained how every other species had been granted immediate full membership. "There is something else," Elena said quietly. "I found a reference in an old file today. It mentioned something called the Containment Protocol. The file was corrupted, but it was in a folder labeled with Earth's coordinates." Captain Torres leaned forward. "Containment? That does not sound like membership." Dr. Morrison nodded grimly. "In my medical research, I have seen references to subject species in some of the older files. I always assumed it meant test subjects for experiments. The group decided they needed to investigate further. They would search their respective databases for any mention of containment protocols, subject species, or unusual references to humanity." Elena returned to her laboratory feeling sick to her stomach. Everything she had believed about humanity's relationship with the Council was starting to crumble. She pulled up her research files again and began searching for any clue that might explain what was really happening. As she worked through the night, Elena found more disturbing patterns. Human colonies were always established in remote areas, far from major trade routes. Human ships were restricted to older hyperspace lanes. Human research was compartmentalized, so that no single human facility had access to complete information. It was starting to look less like membership and more like imprisonment. Elena saved her files to a secure drive and encrypted them. Tomorrow, she would begin the most important research of her life. She needed to find out what the Galactic Council was really doing to humanity, and why they were so afraid to let humans reach their full potential. The truth was out there, hidden in the Council's archives. Elena was determined to find it, no matter what the cost. Elena spent the next 3 weeks carefully searching through Council archives. She had to be smart about it, accessing files that seemed normal while looking for hidden information. The other humans in their secret group were doing the same thing across the galaxy. What they found made Elena's blood run cold. Dr. Morrison was the first to discover something important. In the medical archives, he found old Council meeting records from 55 years ago. The files were labeled as historical biological surveys, but the content was shocking. "Elena, you need to see this," Morrison said during their encrypted video call. The Council was watching Earth long. Before they made official contact, the files Morrison found showed that Council scouts had been observing humanity since the 1940s. They watched World War II with growing alarm. The reports described human technological advancement as unprecedented and potentially dangerous. One scout report read, "The humans have developed atomic weapons within months of discovering nuclear fission. Their rate of innovation is unlike anything we have seen in the galaxy. They adapt and improve existing technology at frightening speed." Another report was even more disturbing. Human military tactics show remarkable creativity and flexibility. They develop new strategies in the middle of battles. This adaptability makes them unpredictable and potentially unstoppable. Elena read the files with growing horror. The Council had not contacted humanity out of friendship. They had been afraid. Engineer Sarah Kim found technical specifications that confirmed Elena's fears. The Council had deliberately given humans outdated technology. The hyperspace drives in human ships were 300 years behind current Council standard. The weapon systems were even older. "Look at this," Sarah said, sharing her screen during their group call. "The power cores in our ships could easily handle modern systems. But the Council told us these old systems were the safest for developing species." Captain Torres had discovered something equally disturbing in the military archives. Human peacekeeping forces were never sent to sectors where they might encounter advanced Council technology or military installations. They were kept busy in remote areas, handling problems that could be solved with their limited equipment. "We have been flying in circles for 50 years, Torres said angrily. "Every mission is designed to keep us occupied without letting us see what the Council is really capable of." Elena had found the most shocking information of all. Deep in the biological archives, she discovered the Council's real assessment of humanity. The report was titled, Threat Analysis, Sol 3 Dominant Species. The document was hundreds of pages long, but the summary was clear. The Council considered humanity to be the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. Not because humans were violent, but because they were too adaptable and creative. The report stated, Sol 3 humans show unprecedented ability to solve complex problems under pressure. They work together effectively despite genetic and cultural differences. Most concerning, they never accept limitations as permanent. They constantly seek to improve and expand their capabilities. Another section read, Unlike other species, humans do not reach technological plateaus. They continue to innovate and discover new applications for existing knowledge. If left unchecked, they could surpass Council technology within 2 centuries. Elena shared these findings with the group. The silence that followed was heavy and angry. "So what is the real plan?" Dr. Morrison asked finally. Elena had found that answer too. Hidden in the deepest archives was a document labeled Long-Term Containment Strategy, Sol 3 Integration. The plan was simple and terrifying. Humanity would remain junior members for exactly 75 years. During this time, the Council would study human psychology, learn their weaknesses, and prepare for Phase 2. Phase 2 involved complete integration of human colonies under direct Council governance. Human independence would end. The human home fleet would be disbanded. Earth would become just another Council world, with humans working in assigned roles. Determined by Council needs, the document called it Beneficial Integration for Galactic Stability. Elena called it slavery. The group was quiet for a long time. After Elena shared this information, finally Captain Torres spoke up. How many other species have they done this to? Elena had wondered the same thing. She searched for references to other containment protocols and found them. 7 species over the past 2,000 years had been subjected to similar treatment. 5 of those species no longer existed. The files labeled their disappearance as voluntary cultural integration or peaceful absorption into Council society. But Elena suspected the truth was much darker. "We need more evidence," Sarah said. "And we need allies." That was when Dr. HFY surprised them all. Elena was working late in her laboratory when the Zilithian scientist entered. He looked nervous, his forehands trembling slightly. "Elena, I must speak with you," he said quietly. "What I am about to tell you could get me executed for treason." Elena's heart started racing.
"What do you mean?"
HFY sat down heavily. "I have been watching your research. I know what you have discovered about the Council's treatment of humanity." Elena tensed, ready to deny everything. "Do not worry," HFY continued. "I am not here to report you. I am here to help." Elena stared at him.
"Help how?"
"There are others like me. Zilithians, Corthans, even some vegans who are disgusted by what the Council does to developing species. We have been waiting for someone brave enough to resist." HFY explained that a small group of aliens had been secretly documenting the Council's crimes for decades. They had evidence of forced integrations, stolen technology, and eliminated species. But they had never been able to act because they had no way to organize resistance. "Humans are different," HFY said. "You are spread throughout Council space, but you still think independently. You have not been broken like some other species." Elena learned that several alien species lived in quiet fear of their own government. The Council maintained power through a combination of propaganda and subtle threats. Species that cooperated were given better technology and resources. Those that questioned Council authority found themselves facing pirates and technical difficulties. The raiders that attack human facilities, cThe explained. They are Council security forces using unmarked ships. It is meant to make humans feel dependent on Council protection. Elena felt sick. Even the attacks on human colonies were staged to maintain control. cThe gave Elena a data chip. This contains communications protocols used by our resistance network. We are small, but we are placed throughout the Council government. We can provide intelligence and resources. Elena took the chip with shaking hands. Why are you helping us? Because humans represent hope, cThe said simply. In 50 years you have maintained your independence of thought despite all the Council's manipulation. You still question authority. You still seek truth. Most species lose that within a generation of joining the Council. That night, Elena shared cThe's revelations with the group. They now had allies and access to information they never could have obtained alone. Commander Chen had his own breakthrough around the same time. During a routine patrol, his ships encountered a damaged alien vessel in an asteroid field. The ship belonged to an unknown species, and its crew was dying. Marcus made the decision to rescue them despite standing orders to report all unknown contacts to Council authorities first. What the rescued aliens told him changed everything. They were called the Farathi, and they had been a spacefaring species for over 1,000 years. 50 years ago, they had been contacted by the Council and offered membership. They had accepted, believing it would benefit their people. Instead, they found themselves restricted to a single star system. Their ships were replaced with safer Council designs. Their scientists were assigned to work on Council projects instead of their own research. Slowly, their culture and independence had been eroded away. The Farathi had tried to resist, but Council peacekeeping forces had crushed their rebellion. Most of their people had been relocated to other worlds as voluntary workers. The few survivors lived as refugees, hiding in the space between star systems. The Council fears any species that thinks for itself, the Farathi leader told Marcus. They crush independence wherever they find it. Your people are next. Marcus gave the Farathi supplies and fuel, but he kept their existence secret from Council authorities. Instead, he reported the incident to Elena's resistance network. The pieces were falling into place. Humanity was not the first species to be deceived by the Council, and they would not be the last unless someone stopped it. Elena looked at her encrypted files and communication equipment. 50 years of lies were about to end. The Council thought they were dealing with naive humans who would accept whatever they were told. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Elena's resistance network had grown to over 40 humans across 12 Council installations. They called themselves the Terran Liberation Front, and they were discovering horrifying truths faster than Elena could process them. Dr. Morrison made the most disturbing discovery yet. While searching medical archives, he found references to voluntary testing programs that had been conducted on humans for the past 30 years. The subjects were supposedly volunteers from Earth who wanted to help with galactic medical research. Morrison hacked into the facility records and found something that made him physically sick. The volunteers had been kidnapped. The files showed detailed psychological profiles of humans who had disappeared from Earth under mysterious circumstances. Explorers who went missing in remote areas. Scientists who vanished during research expeditions. Even some military personnel who were reported as killed in training accidents. These people had been taken to secret Council facilities and subjected to experiments designed to understand human capabilities. The tests were brutal and often fatal. They have been studying us like laboratory animals, Morrison reported to the group during their encrypted meeting. They want to know exactly how we think, how we solve problems, how we handle stress and pain. Elena read through Morrison's files with growing rage. The experiments confirmed the Council's worst fears about humanity. Even under extreme stress and with limited resources, human test subjects consistently outperformed other species in problem-solving tasks. One report stated, human subjects show remarkable ability to find creative solutions when faced with impossible situations. They refuse to accept defeat even when all logical options have been exhausted. This psychological trait makes them extremely dangerous to established order. Another file noted, humans demonstrate unprecedented cooperation under pressure. Subjects from different cultural backgrounds immediately began working together when faced with common threats. This unity, despite diversity, is unique among known species. The experiments had revealed something that terrified the Council. Humans were not just adaptable individually. They were capable of incredible collective intelligence when united by common purpose. Engineer Sarah Kim discovered the Council's technological fears were equally justified. While reverse engineering some of the equipment in her shipyard, she realized that human intuitive understanding of physics allowed them to improve Council designs in ways that other species never attempted. "Look at this," Sarah said during their video conference, showing technical diagrams. Council engineers designed ships based on established patterns. They never question why things work the way they do. But when I looked at these systems, I could see dozens of ways to make them better. Sarah had secretly built improved versions of several Council technologies. Her power coupling design was 40% more efficient than the Council standard. Her weapon targeting system was 3 times more accurate. Her shield generators could withstand twice the damage of equivalent Council systems. "The Council does not innovate," Sarah explained. "They just copy and refine existing designs. But humans ask what-if questions that lead to real breakthroughs." Captain Torres had made an equally important discovery about Council military capabilities. The advanced forces that appeared so impressive were actually using very old tactics and strategies. "They fight the same way they did 1,000 years ago," Torres explained. "Massive fleets, heavy weapons, direct confrontation. They never adapted to new forms of warfare, because they never faced anyone who forced them to adapt." Torres had analyzed the combat data from raids on human facilities. The Council security forces relied entirely on technological superiority. When faced with unexpected tactics or creative strategies, they became confused and ineffective. "We have been thinking like the oppressed," Torres said. "But we should be thinking like the resistance. Human military history is full of smaller forces defeating larger ones through superior tactics and creativity." Elena coordinated all this information while making her own shocking discovery. Deep in the Council's historical archives, she found records of the 7 species that had been integrated over the past 2,000 years. The pattern was always the same. A species would be contacted and offered junior membership. They would be studied for 50 to 100 years while being kept technologically inferior. Then they would be fully absorbed into Council society, losing their independence forever. But Elena found something else in those files. Each of those species had possessed traits that the Council considered dangerous. The Vorthak had been master engineers who could build anything they could imagine. The Kalari had been brilliant strategists who never lost a battle. The Zephrani had been explorers who could adapt to any environment. Each species had been eliminated not because they were evil or aggressive, but because they were too capable. The Council could not allow anyone to develop beyond their control. Elena discovered that humanity combined all of these dangerous traits. They were engineers, strategists, explorers, and adapters all at once. That was why the Council was so afraid. The Resistance made contact with more alien allies through Kethvar's network. Elena was amazed to learn how many Council species lived in quiet fear of their own government. A Korthan engineer named Thakmor revealed that his people's legendary military technology had actually been stolen from a species the Council had eliminated 300 years ago. The Korthans had been given the credit to maintain the illusion that Council species developed their own capabilities. A vegan scientist called Scylla 9 explained that her people's advanced medical knowledge had come from forced cooperation with several absorbed species. The Council took the best minds from conquered peoples and forced them to work for the greater good. Even more disturbing, Elena learned that several current Council species were actually combinations of multiple absorbed peoples. The Council would relocate populations, mix cultures, and eventually create new hybrid societies that had no memory of their original independence. "This is why they study us so carefully," Elena realized during one meeting. "They are planning how to break us apart and rebuild us as loyal Council citizens." The Resistance began planning their response. They could not simply reveal the truth and hope for justice. The Council controlled all major communication networks, military forces, and government institutions. A direct approach would be crushed immediately. Instead, they decided to use the Council's own system against them. Elena's group would gather irrefutable evidence of the Council's crimes. Commander Chen would coordinate with human military units throughout Council space. Sarah would begin secretly upgrading human technology. Dr. Morrison would find and rescue any remaining human test subjects. Most importantly, they would establish secure communication with Earth. Humanity's homeworld needed to know. what was really happening and prepare for the Council's Phase 2 integration plan, Elena contacted her grandfather on Earth using a hidden quantum communication system that Sarah had built. The old man listened in shocked silence as Elena explained everything they had discovered. "Elena, this is hard to believe," her grandfather said finally. "The Council has been so helpful to humanity. They provided technology, education, opportunities among the stars. Grandfather, they gave us only enough to keep us dependent. Every gift came with strings attached. Every opportunity was designed to serve their purposes, not ours." Elena transmitted some of the evidence they had gathered. Her grandfather was quiet for a long time as he reviewed the files. "My God," he whispered finally. "We have been prisoners for 50 years and never knew it." Elena's grandfather was a retired military officer with connections throughout Earth's government and defense forces. He promised to carefully share the information with trusted allies who could begin preparing humanity's response. The Resistance also made a disturbing discovery about their timeline. While reviewing Council meeting schedules, Torres found references to a Sol 3 integration conference planned for the following year. The conference was scheduled to finalize plans for Phase 2. Humanity had less than 12 months before the Council moved to end their independence forever. Elena looked at the massive amount of evidence they had gathered. Files documenting Council crimes, testimonies from alien allies, technical specifications proving human superiority, and proof of the planned integration. It was enough to shock the galaxy if they could find a way to reveal it. But Elena knew that evidence alone would not be enough. The Council had spent 2,000 years perfecting their system of control. They would not give up power simply because their crimes were exposed. The Terran Liberation Front would need to be ready for war. Elena encrypted their complete files and sent copies to hidden locations throughout human space. If the Council discovered their activities, the evidence would survive. Then she began planning the most dangerous mission of her life. The Resistance needed to rescue the human test subjects from Council laboratories. Those people deserved freedom, and their testimonies would provide powerful evidence of Council crimes. But the secret facilities were heavily guarded and located in restricted space. Getting to them would require military action, and military action would reveal the Resistance's existence. Elena realized they were approaching the point of no return. Once they acted openly against the Council, the message from Earth arrived through Sarah's hidden quantum communication network 6 months before the planned Council integration. Elena's grandfather had done his work well. Every major human government, military leader, and scientific institution now knew the truth about the Galactic Council. The response was immediate and coordinated. Earth's leaders had spent months quietly preparing for this moment. Defense Minister Sarah Thompson's message was brief but powerful. Humanity will never accept slavery. We are ready to fight. Elena felt a surge of pride as she read reports from Earth. Weapons factories that had been supposedly producing exploration equipment revealed their true purpose. The space elevators that brought materials to orbital shipyards had been moving military supplies for months. Even the asteroid mining operations had been secretly building defensive platforms. Earth had been preparing for war while pretending to remain peaceful. Commander, Chen received new orders from Earth's military command. Human forces throughout Council space were to begin Operation Awakening. The mission had 3 goals: rescue human prisoners from Council facilities, gather final intelligence on Council military capabilities, and position human fleets for coordinated action. Chen felt nervous excitement as he briefed his officers. After 50 years of flying obsolete ships and fighting meaningless battles, they were finally going to show their true capabilities. Remember, Chen told his tactical team, we are not trying to defeat the entire Council military. We just need to demonstrate that we cannot be controlled anymore. Dr. Morrison led the first rescue mission. His target was a medical research facility in the Rigel system, where intelligence suggested dozens of human prisoners were being held. Morrison had spent weeks studying the facility's layout and security systems. The rescue team consisted of Morrison's medical staff and a squad of human security personnel who were supposedly conducting a routine inspection. In reality, they were heavily armed specialists trained for exactly this type of mission. Morrison's team arrived at the facility on a scheduled supply transport. The council guards were not suspicious because humans had been visiting the station regularly for years. What they did not know was that Morrison had been planning this rescue for months. The operation was swift and efficient. Morrison's people disabled the security systems while the rescue team located the prisoners. What they found made Morrison sick with rage. 43 humans were being held in the facility. Most had been there for years, subjected to brutal experiments that tested their physical and mental limits. The council scientists had been studying human pain tolerance, problem-solving abilities under stress, and psychological breaking points. But the prisoners had not broken. Even after years of torture, they maintained their dignity and defiance. When Morrison's team opened their cells, the prisoners were ready to fight. "We knew someone would come for us eventually," said Dr. Lisa Chang, a xenobiologist who had been captured 3 years ago during an expedition to the Outer Rim. Humans do not abandon their own. The rescue team evacuated all 43 prisoners before council security realized what was happening. By the time alarm systems activated, the human ships were already jumping to hyperspace. Similar rescue missions took place simultaneously across council space. Human teams struck at secret facilities on 7 different worlds, freeing over 200 prisoners and capturing massive amounts of evidence about council crimes. The council's response was immediate and predictable. They declared the rescues to be terrorist attacks and demanded that human authorities surrender the criminals responsible. They threatened to revoke humanity's junior membership status if their demands were not met. Earth's response was delivered by President Maria Santos in a broadcast that reached every human settlement in council space. "We reject the council's demands. The criminals are those who kidnapped and tortured our people. Humanity stands united in defense of our freedom." Elena watched the president's speech from her laboratory on Nexus Prime. She felt tears of pride as Santos continued. "For 50 years, we believed we were junior partners in a galactic community. Today we learned we were prisoners in a sophisticated jail. That ends now." The council's reaction was swift and brutal. Human ships throughout council space were ordered to report to designated stations for safety inspections. Human personnel were restricted to their quarters pending security evaluations. Human colonies were surrounded by council peacekeeping forces to prevent further terrorist activities, but the council had made a crucial mistake. They assumed humans would react like other species that had been absorbed over the centuries. They expected fear and submission. Instead, they got defiance. Captain Torres had spent months secretly coordinating with human military units across the galaxy. When the council's crackdown began, human forces were ready with a coordinated response. The first battle took place near the human colony of New Geneva. A council fleet of 12 ships surrounded the planet and demanded surrender. The human defenders consisted of only 4 patrol ships with supposedly obsolete weapons. The battle lasted 6 minutes. The human ships used tactics that the council had never encountered. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, they attacked from multiple directions using hit-and-run strategies. Their obsolete weapons had been secretly upgraded with improvements that Sarah's engineering teams had developed. More importantly, the human crews fought with a level of coordination and creativity that shocked their opponents. They shared information instantly, adapted their tactics in real time, and supported each other with seamless precision. The council ships were designed to fight other council fleets using established tactics. They were not prepared for opponents who broke all the rules of civilized warfare. 3 council ships were destroyed, and 4 were disabled before the remaining vessels retreated in confusion. The human defenders did not lose a single ship. Similar battles erupted throughout council space as human forces rejected orders to surrender. In every case, human tactical superiority overcame council technological advantages. Elena coordinated intelligence gathering from her position on Nexus Prime. The council's military communications revealed panic and confusion. Their commanders could not understand how primitive human forces were defeating advanced council fleets. One intercepted message from a council admiral read, "Human tactical behavior is completely unpredictable. They use strategies that violate all established military doctrine. Our simulation programs cannot calculate their probable actions." Elena smiled as she read the reports. The council had spent decades studying human history and psychology, but they had focused on the wrong things. They understood human aggression and violence, but they had never learned to appreciate human creativity and adaptability. cThe and his alien resistance network provided crucial intelligence about Council response plans. The government was preparing to implement Emergency Protocol 7, which involved the complete military occupation of all human territories and the forced relocation of human populations to controlled worlds. They are going to attempt genocide, cThe warned Elena during a secret meeting. If they cannot control humanity, they will eliminate your species entirely. Elena felt cold fear but also determination. The Council's desperation proved that humanity's resistance was working. They would not have resorted to such extreme measures unless they were truly afraid. Sarah's engineering teams had been working around the clock to upgrade human technology. The improvements were more dramatic than anyone had expected. When human engineers understood the true principles behind Council technology, they could improve it in ways that Council scientists had never imagined. Human ships were now faster, more maneuverable, and better armed than their Council equivalents. Human shields could absorb more damage, and human weapons could penetrate Council defenses with devastating effectiveness. But the most important advantage was not technological. It was human determination and unity. Elena received reports from human settlements throughout the galaxy. Despite the Council's threats and military pressure, not a single human colony had surrendered. Instead, they were working together in ways that amazed even Elena. Human merchants shared supplies with isolated colonies. Human scientists collaborated on defensive technologies. Human military units coordinated across vast distances without central command structures. The Council had intended to divide and control humanity by spreading them throughout their territory. Instead, they had created a network of human communities that could support each other across the galaxy. Dr. Morrison's rescued prisoners provided the final piece of evidence that Elena needed. Their testimonies about Council experiments were recorded and prepared for broadcast throughout Council space. Elena looked at the massive collection of evidence they had gathered. Council crimes documented in their own files, testimony from victims and witnesses, proof of technological deception and military threats, support from alien resistance movements, demonstration of human military capabilities. They were ready for the final phase of their plan. Elena sent a coded message to resistance cells throughout the galaxy. The signal was simple: dawn comes tomorrow, in 12ing. The broadcast began at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time, across every communication network in Council space. Elena had coordinated with human technicians throughout the galaxy to ensure the signal could not be blocked or interrupted. President Santos appeared on billions of screens across thousands of worlds. Her voice was calm but filled with righteous anger as she began, "Citizens of the galaxy, we are about to show you the truth about your government." Elena watched from Nexus Prime as the evidence began flowing across every communication channel. Council meeting records showing their fear of human development. Secret files documenting the elimination of 7 species over 2,000 years. Testimonies from human prisoners describing years of brutal experimentation. Most damaging of all were the Council's own words. Their private communications revealed their contempt for the species they supposedly protected and their plans for maintaining control through deception and force. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On Zalithia, crowds gathered in the capital city, demanding answers from their government representatives. The Zalithian council members tried to claim the evidence was fabricated, but cThe and his resistance allies had prepared for this response. They broadcast additional proof that the documents were authentic. The Korthan Empire experienced mass demonstrations as their military leaders learned that their legendary technology had been stolen from destroyed species. Proud Korthan warriors felt humiliated when they realized their achievements were built on the suffering of others. Even the Vegan Republic, usually supportive of council policies, saw protests as their scientists discovered that their medical advances had come from forced cooperation with absorbed peoples. But the most shocking revelation was what the council had planned for. Currently loyal species, Elena's team had found evidence that even the founding members of the council were not safe. Any species that became too advanced or independent would eventually face integration or elimination. Elena received reports from across the galaxy as the truth spread. Communication networks crashed under the volume of traffic as billions of beings shared the evidence with others. Council security forces found themselves facing angry crowds on dozens of worlds. More importantly, other species began organizing their own resistance movements. The broadcast had included instructions for secure communication and coordination techniques that humans had developed. Within hours, alien resistance groups were forming and making contact with each other. The Council's response was exactly what Elena had expected. They declared martial law across all member territories and ordered their military forces to restore order. Council fleets began moving toward major population centers to suppress the uprisings. But humanity was ready for this. Moment Commander Chen led a combined human fleet toward the Council's military headquarters at Sector Prime. His force consisted of every human warship in Council space, reinforced by vessels that had secretly arrived from Earth. The human fleet was smaller than the Council's defensive forces, but Chen was not planning a conventional battle. Human tactical doctrine had evolved far beyond anything the Council understood. Remember, Chen told his commanders, we are not here to conquer territory. We are here to prove that the Council cannot control us anymore. The battle for Sector Prime became the turning point of the war. Council forces outnumbered the humans 3-1 and had superior firepower. But they were fighting an opponent that refused to follow the rules of civilized warfare. Human ships attacked in coordinated swarms, using hit-and-run tactics that confused Council targeting systems. They shared sensor data in real time, allowing the entire fleet to act as a single organism. When Council ships tried to form defensive formations, human forces slipped through gaps that the Council did not even know existed. Most devastating of all, human weapons had been upgraded with technologies that the Council had never seen. Sarah's engineering teams had developed shield-penetrating weapons, stealth systems that fooled Council sensors, and armor that could absorb incredible amounts of damage. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the Council's primary fleet had been destroyed or disabled. Chen's forces had lost only 6 ships out of 80, but the victory at Sector Prime was just one part of a galaxy-wide uprising. Alien species that had lived under Council control for centuries were finally fighting back, inspired by humanity's example and armed with evidence of Council crimes. Elena coordinated the information war from Nexus Prime. Her teams broadcast real-time updates on human victories and alien uprisings, preventing the Council from controlling the narrative. They also provided technical assistance to alien resistance groups, sharing the communication and coordination techniques that had made human success possible. Dr. Morrison led medical teams to worlds where Council forces had used chemical weapons against civilian populations. The human doctors worked alongside alien medics to treat the wounded and document Council war crimes. Sarah's engineering corps provided technical support to alien resistance movements, helping them upgrade their equipment and develop new weapons. The combination of alien resources and human innovation produced technologies that surpassed anything the Council possessed. The tide of war turned completely when 3 major Council species officially withdrew their support for the government. The Aquatic Confederation announced that they could no longer support a regime built on lies and murder. The Silicon-based Christarch Collective declared their independence and offered sanctuary to refugees from Council oppression. Most shocking of all, a faction of Zilithians led by Kethvar seized control of their homeworld and arrested their Council representatives. Kethvar's speech to his people was broadcast throughout the galaxy. We have been accomplices in genocide for too long. Today we choose justice over comfort. Elena watched the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. The Council's authority was collapsing as more species learned the truth and chose freedom over security. But the Council was not finished. Their remaining loyal forces launched a desperate attack on Earth itself, hoping to destroy humanity's homeworld and break the rebellion's spirit. The assault on Earth was the largest space battle in galactic history. Council forces brought over 200 ships armed with planet-killing weapons. They intended to make an example of humanity that would terrify other rebellious species back into submission. They faced Earth's defensive fleet of 50 ships and the planet's orbital defense platforms. The numerical odds favored the Council, but they had not accounted for human determination and the support of their new allies. As the Council fleet approached Earth, they found themselves facing not just human defenders, but ships from a dozen alien species that had joined the rebellion. Silithian cruisers fought alongside human destroyers. Korthan warriors flew beside human pilots. Even former enemies worked together against their common oppressor. The battle for Earth lasted 6 hours and ended with the complete destruction of the Council's attack force. Not a single Council ship escaped to report back to their government. Elena received the news while coordinating refugee assistance on Nexus Prime. She felt tears of joy as she realized that humanity had not just survived the Council's attempt at genocide, they had won. The final act came when a joint human-alien fleet arrived at the Council's capital world of Centralis. The planet surrendered without a battle as the government realized their cause was hopeless. Council leaders were arrested and put on trial for crimes against sentient beings. The evidence was overwhelming, and the trials were broadcast throughout the galaxy to ensure transparency and justice. Elena testified at the trials about her discovery of the Council's deception. She spoke for all the human victims and for the 7 species that had been eliminated over the centuries. "You told us we were junior members of a galactic community," Elena said to the Council leaders in the dock. "But you were preparing to destroy our independence and absorb our people into your empire. You made 2 crucial mistakes. You underestimated human determination, and you forgot that lies cannot stand forever against truth." The trials revealed the full scope of Council crimes. Over 2,000 years, they had eliminated 12 species, absorbed 5 others, and kept hundreds of worlds under oppressive control. Billions of beings had died or suffered because of Council policies designed to maintain their power. But the trials also revealed something hopeful. Many Council species had been victims too, controlled and manipulated by their own government. When the truth came out, they chose justice and cooperation over fear and oppression. The new galactic government was established based on principles that Elena and her human colleagues helped develop. True equality between species, transparency in all government actions, and respect for each species' right to determine their own destiny. Elena stood on the observation deck of the new galactic assembly station, watching ships from dozens of species working together to build a better future. Human vessels worked alongside former enemies, sharing technology and knowledge freely. The engineering projects were incredible. Sarah's teams were collaborating with alien scientists to develop technologies that none of them could have created alone. Medical advances from Dr. Morrison's research were saving lives across the galaxy.